Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. Hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and I resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
What fi go to eat no money, what fi at you, eat no at you. Covid money, miss away in the year, look rat you. Use the youth, the money, waste my must have man to statue. Say me like a catch you, but me got in a figure you. Take this script of money, girl, and say that it's not you. One day the man above end up, him a got up. Too much eating at the kitchen, some a fly by like a patu. When singers and DJs and social media's coming at you.
It burn me.
300% raise.
It burn me.
Garbage pile up the day.
It burn me.
Give the teacher them raise.
It burn me.
I see corruption peace.
It burn me.
Mash down the people them house.
It burn me.
Every day appear arms out.
It burn me.
Appear money them a thief.
It burn me.
And them a sell out the beach.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and I resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
For me say big up all the charities and all of the givers. Some a go like say them powerful, me know me got bigger. The urgent the promises, none of them not deliver. Cut up the youth, the rapper, they down in our fever. Member bold money and they lie them tell. Corruption smell and they pocket them swell. When police don't a market like Satan out of hell, go mash up people start like thief when them sell.
It burn me.
Or they treat the market man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat the cat man.
It burn me.
Or they treat the peanut man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat the dirt man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat the son man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat policeman.
It burn me.
How them a treat soldier man.
It burn me.
How them a treat everyone.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again.
Stevie dim day. We in Global TV says certain kind of friend we no cape. And some informer friend we love lake. We in Global. Bona fake friend and bona tape. We in Global. We not promote them. We not support them. Look at them on the cheek come here represent for. We in Global TV. Check it.
Oi, 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 good evening. Me just a come for a fresh fry and me don't drunk. Me don't drunk because a Red Bull me drink, so me don't drunk. Me just a come for a fish fry and me don't drunk. How no do? How no do? Good evening, everybody. There is a slight changes to my program this evening. I'm rather going to put the Prime Minister abuse of power and sexual misconduct under the probe tonight. So send go call everybody and tell them, say, we are going to ask the Prime Minister about a litany of possible side chick tonight. And how long has the Prime Minister been using his office and power to elicit sex and to initiate sexual harassment. Tonight, the Prime Minister, sexual abuse, sexual misconduct in public office, sexual harassment, Me Too is under tonight's probe. Good evening to my community and my family members. Good evening to platform moderators and membership holders, viewers, and subscribers. Good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us. Why am I also play hot scarp with me this evening? Don't even start it, okay? You don't want me to get off on you. Good evening, all. Donmel, good evening, Beat and Teach. Sunshine. Gloria Morris. Elaine Turner. Good evening. Pamela McNeil. Natalia Freeman, good evening. How all do? Michelle Lewis Wilson, God's gift. Angela 48349, Yvonne Johnson, Stacy, Christine Gilbert. Good evening. Millicent Jones, good evening. Freedom, Carlene Richards. Rosemary Samuel, Monica Hawthorne, good evening. Mary Messenger TV, good evening. Georgia Dennis, Ladybug. Good evening. Special, good evening. Andrea Daly, Sheena Kelly, Claudette Robinson, good evening. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We see another lawsuit coming to the JLP them, where it turned out in a Rukumbine and Patty shop now, Althea Johnson real sweet. Nothing about the country. The Jamaica Labour Party seemed to forget what they were elected for. But this year one year him attack say him looking into possible ways of increasing more people's access to the sexual offenders register. Laxley Gregory. Why not? Lawrence Beckford, everybody. So he said he ordered a review into releasing information on offenders. Is the share ride system being used as a scapegoat for this government in their control for tax purposes over the taxi services in our country? Is the death of Miss Danielle Anglin being used by this government to attack those services which it does not have control over? It's a question to ask. Is it share ride that is really the problem? Or is it proper declaration from the government as to those who are on the sexual offenders register and ought to be known to community they live and move around in? Is it share ride which is the problem? Or is it the government way in dealing with access to information? Violet Watson. Because this government here like to steer away into their blind direction. So we have to ask them the question. Marie, how are you? Larkland. We have to ask them the question. Because everybody transfixed Palmer Golden British status As if Mark Golding is the only person in our parliament currently that have British status. All Apka Fitzhenley is qualified to do is to say what Cliff Hughes want Apka Fitzhenley to say, RJ. That's the only reason why Apka Fitzhenley is in our Senate, and since Apka is there, has never had anything to do. The current government of the day completely forget all of what they're elected or selected to do. Christine Gilbert. All of them completely forget what they were elected to do. Lachlan, thank you very much. All of them, Dorothy White. All of them forget what we elect them to do. It's a back and forth and a susurrant between the all of them. How are we going to solve the citizenship argument, bros? This British citizenship, where everybody want to cut off Mark Golding head over, where even PJ come out and talk about so Jamaican, white or black Jamaican, PJ, can your argument not make much sense? White or black Jamaicans? And at what point did you realize, because people may think, say, why is Wayne attacking PJ? What has PJ done to him? On the list to what PJ say, and tell me if this doesn't warrant an attack. For a time waster to be sitting down telling us conundrum, where you identify the conundrum, but you never even spoke of it when you had the power to do something about it. No, when Donga Archer, JC Wagwan, no when Donga Archer sit down and wait for you, at that time you run come out and come talk about constitution.
Reason exists for maintaining the provisions pertaining to a Commonwealth citizen other than a citizen of Jamaica who is resident for at least 12 months to be eligible for parliamentary.
Black or white, which is it? Or every Jamaican of every color? That exclude Matthew Samuda. He's not a Jamaican citizen. Okay? Matthew Samuda is not a Jamaican citizen. Unlike Mark Golding, he did not even born in Jamaica. He was born in London. But I would not play the racist card because I fight against racism in London on a daily basis. So why am I going to get up play racist card against Mark Golding, Angeli?
The qualifications must be based, in my view, on Jamaican citizenship. I don't want to cause any confusion. Citizens of the Commonwealth are at the present time legally entitled to sit in the House or the Senate. I am deliberately confining my remarks to the constitutionality of any such position. Political considerations are well above my grade in the pavilion. It is my considered view that Section 40 should not be confined to parliamentarians, but extended. In my time, there were 2 appointments I had to make. The people disclosed to me that they held citizenship of another country. I told them not putting any pressure on you. You have a choice. Renounce and stay where you are. Or if you want to accept this position because of its sensitivity, you have to renounce. Both without hesitation proceeded to renounce and were duly appointed to their...
Russ Edoa, how are you? But why then, PJ Patterson, as the longest serving Black Prime Minister, you didn't see that you should make any adjustment to Section 40 or Section 39 of the Constitution? You did not see that. You were well aware that British citizens who weren't born in Jamaica is sitting in our parliament. Well, it didn't occur to you, or you didn't think there should be a amendment to Section 40 before this Mount Golden citizenship came up? PJ argument for PJ have come out with don't make no sense. PJ is playing the usual fifth column that PJ is. A black man time now. Remember the slogan he used against Siaga. Is PJ Patterson engaging in this conversation as a way to say no return to white man rule in our country? VM, good evening. Just like Rhoda Crawford, at this moment, PJ should have shut up. You have a very long time to deal with that particular issue in our Constitution. And you never look at it, you never touch it, Sharon Bernard, Jeanette Mundy. You never look at it, you never touch it. So to be out now, if your end is mute, Elaine, refresh your system, come out and come back in. Why all this time you realize that Section 40 was too broad, PJ Patterson, and Section 40 as well, in your view, Mr. Patterson, did not scoop in, Joanne, how are you? Did not scoop in other public office holders other than Parliament. Those are your issues. Why then? Call us our Operation Pride money there. Like how you come out, it's just like a road that will come out, come answer the question. And it costs more question, PJ. Norman Ferguson, how you do? And this you come out, come create. People pass by your treachery and your wickedness, and we're focusing on the current. But you coming out your PJ, you're going to make we dig up all of your skeleton them. You're going to make we shake out all of your skeleton out of box in front of the public, PJ Patterson. That's what you're asking for. And you come out, you can start talk first, you know. So don't expect we not to answer you back. And so we stay out there. We don't go around corner go mumble. And you come out here, PJ, Jeanette McIntosh. So you going forward will be placed under the scope because there was many to run out on in this country, PJ. And constitutional whoopsie fanny draw you out. And I'm still waiting to hear PJ Patterson Lilith Foster. I'm still waiting to hear one of you intellectual dimwit, not so very bright, half-witted, speak about the final court which caused the collapse in the constitutional review. I shall return. I'm yet to hear one of you speak about the real issue with the constitutional review, which is the final court. When the constitution tumbled over, it dropped our golden passport. When we were fighting on the bridge over the final court. But since we're dropping our water, it's all about who Britain is going to save on this river here. And that's the argument, you know. Patrick Watson, how are you? At that, at the argument, them a push up, can't we? Nobody is talking about the important bit of the Constitution, which is our final court. And that's where the problem starts. And that whole heap we want to talk about. Why the Jamaica Labour Party, who's ordered the constitutional review, is not interested in having the issue of a final court, and indeed could have a sit down on the issue of straightening out Section 39 and Section 40 of the Constitution. And then something the constitutional review mean. It not mean, EM, how are you, that you jump out on a rant and a smear campaign and you bring in dunce people like Hugh Wildman to come confused with. Then after that, when that no work, you bring in hypocrite and racist like PJ Patterson to come even muddy at the water. I wonder if a bun Dr. Tufton hand bun or break. Because we don't know who throw the fire at Parliament. We don't know if a bun hand. And we say head ban up and we don't hear nobody talk about Dr. Tufton head. Andrew McCoy, you know. We don't hear nobody talk about Dr. Tufton head, you know. So we don't know if a wedding going at the building go light the fire catch him hand. But we are going to put the Prime Minister under the scope tonight. Because so this is the 1 year I do when you let them chain him for the John Rock 876. 8766. How are you? See where the Juliet deputy then Roy Daly see for them behavior, Cheryl Benjamin, everybody know where Labour is going. You just have to sit down and watch them. No, I talk about Michelle Charles dental practice and dental license in the US. Everybody just shut up, blam, both is so. Babsy just a walk kind of wind up on every young boy and don't want to get into the citizenship argument via Holness. I don't know why. Babsy and Tom, just like how the iron donkey thing to say because she picked cotton, the whip holder, under the motto, out of many one people, doesn't have the same right as her in peacetime Jamaica. Triple one unexpected. Good evening and welcome. She don't think the whip holder and the cotton picker under the motto of out of many one people has the same claim to Jamaica as her, Donnet Hamilton. We're not saying go call Andrew and his concubine because we have a litany of questions to ask tonight. A litany of them Maxine Cummins, Carletta Turner. We have a litany of questions to ask tonight. A lot of questions will be put to the females tonight. But bear in mind, tonight is Andrew Holness abuse of power, sexual misconduct, and sexual harassment that is under the global scope tonight. But we have a litany of questions to ask a few ladies tonight. as well as the Prime Minister. So me can't read anything with upon black background, because I can't see them like a fine writing, especially upon black background, but this is the publication from Mark Golden, including the distasteful utterance Angela Levy from Heroic Clark with regards to Mark Golden's family. So you know there is another lawsuit coming. Heroic seem to go get bogged down with lawsuit like bug life. Heroic Clark, I wonder if you Derek a hear around a room there night time. Clark is going down the same route as bug life, bogged down by lawsuits. But we'll wait on further development. But then again, we know say nobody over labor don't have no shame. So we don't expect nothing from them, expect for just shit draining out of their mouth every time it's open. But tonight we're going to put the Prime Minister under the scope. We have questions to ask of the Prime Minister litany of sexual abuse. How far does the Prime Minister's abuse of power goes? Is Rhoda Crawford the Prime Minister's only victim? Or, Tony Duncan, does the Prime Minister have a litany of victims in his political office, from the Ministry of Education to now being the Prime Minister of our country, Feline? How far, we're asking this evening, does Andrew Holness' litany of sexual harassment, sexual abuse, and misconduct in public office goes? This would have bring down any foreign government in a sensible democracy. I'm going to make me try me grape them 1-1, because them keep me throat mice. Jeanette McIntosh. Palace Royal Go-Go Club, Andrew Holness. Palace Royal Go-Go Club and Nightclub Prime Minister. Have you ever visited Palace Royal, Kirk Edwards? During your time at the Ministry of Education, is there any truth to the argument that you could be seen regularly attending the Palace Royal Go-Go and Nightclub? Does Andrew Holness have a fetish for women with doctorate? And if Andrew Holness does, would it be the reason why Andrew Holness went on a campaign, even in his bid, Precious Allen, to discipline the University of the West Indies by kicking them out of the New York building in order to achieve his doctorate? Does the Prime Minister have a fetish for women with doctorate? Is it fair to ask you, Prime Minister, during your mother time dancing go-go as a young boy, have your mother ever carried you along with her to a nightclub for lack of babysitting, Prime Minister? Jeanette Jones, good evening. Do you have a fetish for female with doctorate? Do you? Will you be able to say to the patrons, Prime Minister Raymond G., would you be able to say to the patrons at the club, at the Palace Royal, including some staff at Ministry of Education, that you wasn't a regular at the Palace Royal? I wonder where you get the Go-Go Club following from, Prime Minister. Dr. Grace McLean, Dr. Maureen Dwyer, Dr. Cousin Troop, Dr. Dana Morris Dixon, Dr. Tracy Ann Anderson, Shata, Dr. to be Miss Rhoda Moy Crawford. Is there a doctor fetish? Is there a doctor fetish with our Prime Minister, our Cable and HVAC Service Incorporated? How are you? But to Dr. Grace McLean, I have a few questions for you. Is there any truth to the argument, Dr. McLean, that during 2007 to 2011, you slept with Andrew Holness to secure your place in the Ministry of Education as Chief Education Officer? Only 6 months after you were the Deputy Officer of School Operations, Miss McLean. Is there any truth to that argument that during the Prime Minister time at the Ministry of Education, you were a side chick to the Prime Minister, abuse of power, sexual harassment, using your power to elicit sex, Prime Minister? Is there any truth to the argument, Miss McLean, that you had a long-standing relationship with Andrew Holness until he became Prime Minister in December 2011, after the Bruce Golden catastrophe? Was it that, Miss McLean, how you secure your space as permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education? Renice Nicholson, Ladybug. Remember the phrase, Miss McLean? Remember the phrase, I'm not going back to be poor, so I will do whatever? Do you, Miss McLean, remember that phrase? Dolores Logan. Freedom, how you know? Do you, Grace McLean? And is it, if that is true, Grace McLean, is that the reason why nothing has been done to you with your pilfering at the Ministry of Education to the tune, Miss McLean, of $124 million, Georgette Brown? Is there any truth to the argument, Miss McLean? But it goes further, Miss McLean. It is also said you are a ministerial mattrass within our political spheres. Is there any truth to the argument? Did you sleep with minister like Ronald Twait during 2012 to 2016, Miss McLean? Roel Reid, Miss McLean, during 2016 to 2019? Carl Samuda, Miss McLean, from 2019 to 2020? Me too. Hashtag me too. A whole catastrophe of Me Too movement is unfolding in our Jamaican parliament, albeit the women want to be in silent, but we have to put the Prime Minister on the probe for the abuse of power. Grace McLean, Do you remember this phrase? Una have on a pussy, beg your pardon the expression, people, you know me a realist. Una have on a pussy, don't be afraid to use it. Would that be a phrase Grace McLean would use to junior staff in the Ministry of Education? Hmm? Una know we're not afraid to ask question, you know. If una take 14 years to answer like Rhoda Crawford, we're going to ask. We are going to, it could have taken una a million years to answer. Did you encourage your junior staff, Miss McLean, when being secretary, permanent secretary at the Ministry of Education? Una have una pussy in verbatim. Una have una pussy, use it. Is there any truth to the argument, Grace McLean? That phrase, Miss McLean. Your fall from grace, Miss McLean, was it a mastermind, Verna Shaw? Your fall from grace, Miss McLean, was it a mastermind or a mishap? No, I have to ask the question in verbatim, meet and teach. Perspective power. Was your fell from grace, Miss McLean, a mishap, or was it a mastermind? You see, if you ever go into a court, everything have to, when it comes to witness statement, it have to be spoken in verbatim. If the witness cuss a bad word, you have to speak it in verbatim in the court. That's just a realistic speaking go. Me a quote. Your fall from grace or whatever it is, Miss McLean. Was your fall from grace a mastermind or was it a mishap? Did the wife of the Prime Minister, in a jealous rage, Miss McLean, after finding out about yourself and the Prime Minister, mastermind, Miss McLean, your fall from grace, Andrea Burgess? Old dog like Andrew? Was it the wife of the Prime Minister who mastermind Grace McLean fall from grace in a fit of jealous rage? Those are the questions to the Prime Minister in relation to his abuse, his sexual abuse against Grace McLean. Dr. Dwyer. Dr. Maureen Dwyer. Did you have any fling or such alike with the Prime Minister? Has the Prime Minister, Miss Dwyer, Dr. Maureen Dwyer, has the Prime Minister uses his power to abuse you, to sexually harass you, Miss Dwyer, to elicit sex from you, Dr. Maureen Dwyer? Is it true, Dr. Dwyer, that the Prime Minister forced himself on you while being Minister of Education in order to secure a promotion of Chief Inspector of the National Education Inspectorate? Not the more practical. Kate M. Did the Prime Minister Andrew Holness solicit sex from Dr. Maureen Dwyer in order to promote her to Chief Inspector of National Education Inspectorate? Morgan Harbour Hotel, Andrew Holness and Dr. Dwyer, Port Royal. It is said that both of you could be regularly seen at the Morgan's Harbour Hotel in Port Royal. Is there any truth to the argument, Andrew Holness? Did you use your power? Did you use your office to sexually harass Dr. Dwyer in order, Prime Minister Holness, to give her a position at the Ministry of Education? Was there a long-standing relationship, Prime Minister, between yourself and Dr. Dwyer, which led you to elevate Dr. Dwyer to permanent secretary in October 2011? In October 2021. How far does the Prime Minister litany of abuse of power goes? Did you help Dr. Dwyer? Did you assist in the covering up of Grace McLean's crime? Did you assist Juliet Holness, Miss Dwyer, Dr. Dwyer, in masterminding the fall from grace of Dr. Grace McLean? In verbatim, are you in a current cocky war in the Ministry of Education with Dr. Cusson Trope over Andrew Holness, Dr. Maureen Dwyer? Is there a plot, Dr. Dwyer, involving yourself for a fall from grace of Dr. Cusson Troop? Adolph Donnan, good evening. How far does the Prime Minister litany of sexual abuse, sexual harassment, misconduct in public office goes? Quid pro quo, prospective power said. Something for something. Dr. Cusson Trope, the current permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education. Kate M. Andrew is a sex offender. Serial would be a word to add. Serial sex offender, it seems we have as a Prime Minister. Serial sex abuser, serial abuser of power is what we seem to have. Dr. Cosson Troop. Christopher, how you do? Did you have a fling with the Prime Minister to promote yourself to Deputy Chief Education Officer for Special Project? A fake post it was, created only for a short time. I wonder if it did create, just like how one create, give Bruce Golden and Andrew Holness side chick. Who are we talking about? Marlene Malahoo Fort. Open mind, how are you? Did you continue your sexual relationship with the Prime Minister, Ms. Stroke, in order to secure your permanent secretary position after the fall of Dr. Grace McLean? After the fall of Dr. Grace McLean, were you propositioned and positioned, Dr. Cosson Troop, by the Prime Minister? Was there a quid pro quo argument, agreement between yourself and the Prime Minister? Is it true, Dr. Cosson Troop, that you're a domestic abuser? Not an abuser of domestic violence, Dr. Cosson Troop. You are on the given end. Is there any truth to the argument that you regularly beat and blood up your husband, Dr. Troop? Is there any truth to the argument that when you're ready, you choke your man against wall, Dr. Cosson Troop? Because when you want to have your way, Dr. Troop, with these powerful men, are you alone wear the pants? Just a question. Just a question, my dear. Dr. the Honorable Dana Morris Dixon. It is said, Miss Dixon, you were catapulted out of the private sector into Senate after your relationship with the Prime Minister started. Is there any truth to the argument that you were promised, Miss Dana Morris Dixon, the job as Ministry of Education as favor is about to fall soon? I wonder if you hold on or did it. Just a walk on a tab after one another with knife. So I wonder if you hold on or stab after one another to climb the social ladder. The litany of the Prime Minister's sexual harassment, the litany of the Prime Minister misconduct in public office, the litany of abuse of power of the Jamaican Prime Minister in public office. Dr. Tracy Anderson Dr. Tracy Ann Anderson, another rotten fruit in Andrew Holness's basket. Dr. Anderson, could that be true? That you are one of the rotten fruit in the Prime Minister's basket? It says the reason why the Prime Minister loves you, Dr. Anderson. You're a freak beneath the sheet, it's what it said. Garrett Anderson, your husband, principal of Church Teachers College, is known for going to Cliff's party. Dr. What's it rather Anderson. So you're flinging it the Prime Minister. I saw your husband out there fling it the man, Rosie D. What a conundrum and coloration. It is also said that most of the men, Dr. Tracy Anderson, your husband is sleeping with, are members of the Jamaica Labour Party, hierarchies of the Jamaica Labour Party. It is also said, Dr. Tracy Anderson, that Andrew Holness, Nesta Morgan, and Orlando Terrelong may be having their way with your husband while you are out there having it off with the Prime Minister. Is there any truth to the argument? We're investigating the litany of the Prime Minister abuse of power, sexual abuse and sexual harassment, and misconduct in public office. And misconduct in public office. It called Dr. to be the baby of them all, the sweetheart, the one where you hold on and them not let go. Tell yourself them hold the one that may turn out to be the wife. Dr. to be Rhoda Moy Crawford. When the Prime Minister, Miss Crawford, Nancy Rowe, how you do? When the Prime Minister made the dull move and put Ernie Simmet, Dunce daughter, who I wouldn't put out a road for creep up, trash, the dunce, dumb Marsha Simmet, that the JLP have to give Marsha a seat to pay back Ernie Simmet for all of the political donation Ernie Simmet make to them. You see them dirty Rasta, yeah? You see the dirty Rasta, them was somehow listen to and think to say because them have the little dirty Junja frowns, the smelly map on them head. Them have no influence in Jamaica. When if you stop make them misguide and call the whole of them a politician, where use them interests to feed upon ignorance. But when, Miss Crawford, when the Prime Minister made the dunce Marsha Simmet, back road Marsha Simmet, Marsha were duncer than Nesta, Marsha were only in a politics because your papa is an entertainer that is aligned to the Jamaica Labour Party and fund the Jamaica Labour Party. Dunce, dumb, backwards Marsha Simmet, Ernie Simmet's daughter. Marva Blake. Because some of use on the front and the parents them title for think to say no qualify for political representation in Jamaica. We don't think this is a go-go club. We don't think because Andrew Holness, Mama Dancer, and make it out, the whole honor gonna make it out, yes, sir. Anyway, Miss Crawford, is there any truth to the argument that you were the one who the Prime Minister wanted to made education state minister in the Ministry of Education instead of that dull Marsha Smith? But because of stiff opposition from a bitter, jealous wife, the Prime Minister couldn't have given you that position, Miss Crawford. Just an ask. As well as Andre Stevens, Miss Crawford. How deep is Nestor Morgan into the spilling of the bean of yours and the Prime Minister's story? Was Nestor Morgan a part of your outing, Miss Crawford? Was Nestor Morgan a part of your information with the Prime Minister getting out in public? Jealous bug life. Why did you went to Cliff Hughes? Dr. to be Rhoda Moy Crawford. Why did you went to Cliff Hughes and bleed your heart out? Why did you went to Cliff Hughes, Miss Crawford, and bleed your heart out? Is it because, as it is said, Miss Crawford, Curiosity Kid, is it because every time the Prime Minister tried to promote you, Miss Crawford, it has been blocked by the Prime Minister and somebody else is given the go-ahead above? Miss Crawford, Brittany L., how are you? It is said, Miss Crawford, the Prime Minister even wants to use you to replace Fable Williams, quotes Noreen. The wife of the Prime Minister will not allow that to happen. Is there any truth to the argument, Miss Crawford, that your spilling of the beans, your meltdown in public and Cliff Hughes was because of the total blockade that you have come up against in our parliament? Every step and every turn, Miss Crawford, your promotion or acceleration has been blocked because of jealousy. Is there any truth to the argument? That is the reason why you ended up at Cliff Hughes' hissy fitting away, Rohan Williams. What a mashallah and shalala in a Thiwi parliament. Who is there to investigate the Prime Minister misconduct in public office, Barrington Clark? Who is going to investigate the Prime Minister using his public office to elicit sex and to carry out sexual harassment? Cause your culture closing, how are you? Can Andrew Holness, with this track record, continue in our parliament? Is this a Me Too movement in our parliament that all of us need to ask questions about. And as I said earlier, the questions may be posed to the women mostly, but the women are not the one who's under the scope here. The women in this situation are seen as a victim of the Prime Minister, sexual abuse, sexual harassment, abuse of power in public office. Hmm? In any country, this Prime Minister would be under this public spotlight. But when you're in a country that media can be paid to look completely in the other direction, media can be paid to ignore that which they should investigate. I wonder if Zara Burton could help us to investigate the Prime Minister litany of sexual misconduct, abuse of power, sexual harassment, eliciting sex, using your power and your office to elicit sex. Is there anyone out there that would assist us in going deeper into an investigation of the Prime Minister's abuse of power? God is real. Does anyone out there have any information on the Prime Minister's sexual misconduct in public office, eliciting sex, and abuse of power? Are there any other victims of the Prime Minister out there that we have not yet mentioned or brought into the fold? But this is a litany of sexual harassment and sexual abuse that global television is bringing forward to the people. We are saying our Prime Minister seemed to be a sexual abuser. 400 and I download upon the global producer Wayne channel. And 160 I don't only like it after going through the Prime Minister list of sexual abuse and sexual harassment. When you still sit down with your hand full like a wire side and they just a listen and don't have nothing to contribute. What happened to your finger? Come like you don't want me to start on tonight. You don't want if it end with me and Uno tonight. No man, no do better with a finger. Do better with on a finger. But the Prime Minister on a road alone, on a road alone are the Prime Minister victim. The Prime Minister have many victims out there. And the Prime Minister's wife always observing. Coming out with Parliament, come hold up space to do our body spying. Because that's all Juliet they do. I do body spying. One see Juliet do really substantial since him did it. From Juliet take the high chair is a load of confusion, heartache. Me don't know if Juliet look back on the video them. Paula the young gunman them man. Them say the young gunman them a show up Paula. Just like how the young gunman them a show up Babsy. Them say the young gunman them a show up Paula against wire fence and zinc fence and shop side and them something there. So, Vernon Mitchell, how are you? Deanne Campbell, you're there. Wagwan. Heather Grant. So, Paula and Babsy love them young. Wanna stay there. You know, your Dr. Nesbeth telling you the reason why so much gunman get off a case with Paula is because Paula love getting thrown up. But the Prime Minister's wife is in a very bitter, precarious position. She don't know if it turn for no buck up on a matey. Lilith Foster. With Prime Minister wife don't know where to turn for no buck up on a matey. And this is why I said to you, Juliet, woman and man, where they are husband and wife, don't feel working in the same environment. Unless you're a realist, where them something that not bother you, you're going to end up mad out, angry, bitter. Your face turn hard and cold like rock. Juliet Holness, you don't see so you can't smile again, woman. It's the heartache where you subject yourself to. Done it. How are you? The heartache where you subject yourself to. You don't see what I do to you. You don't see how your face just get stiff and tight. Monica Wells. Talk to Juliet. It is not doing good for you. We can see the meltdown when you're sitting in the chair. Done it, Coley. You can barely have eye contact with the public. You sound nervous, you sound angry, you sound jittery, and you sound like you just want to fly off the handle, done it, Harriet, at somebody. We know how the stress go, Juliet. Where the stress, where you buckle with a yard. When you reach out a road, somebody just needs to look sideways for you to out your stress on them. Don't subject your teeth and build yourself enough, my girl. Don't subject yourself to them things there. In the long run, it now go benefit your Juliet Holness. All of your teeth and build up. You're going to sit down like Portia Simpson and just look on it and melt away. Go and go look for love and enjoy your life and start all over again. You're young. Only for crusty bad man when I like walk out, they wouldn't take you up. You don't have to subject yourself to this. We can see the anger, Miss Holness, pelting through you when you're sitting in the chair. It don't look good in the public. The matey war, the war over the Prime Minister, in the middle with Parliament, on public radio, it don't look good. It don't look good for a democracy. It don't look good for integrity in public office, Prime Minister. It don't look good. Do you have your wife's interest at heart, Prime Minister, or is she still your wife? Why is your wife being subjected to such a brutal tyranny in front of her face every day, Prime Minister? Why you not go to a back road, go look woman and take the hope and matey out of your wife's face? Careless boy. Pissa road boy. Barefoot boy. Son of a go-go. Market boy. Why you think you have to subject a woman to those behavior in front of her face every day? Is she still your wife? Do you still have respect for Miss Holness? Because you can't have respect for her and have her subjected to that treatment in Parliament every day. The Prime Minister needs to draw a line under this issue. As much as we don't like your wife thieving, we get sorry for her now. We have mother and we have sister, and we never go entertain it, Prime Minister, to feel with wife and with sister. So it not means say because we don't like Juliet politically, humanly, we're going to accept that behavior they fear. No, tough as she be a woman too. And she deserve respect too, Prime Minister. Of course. Not because you're dirty labor right people them, I will come out come disrespect my golden wife. Show respect to your wife. And you didn't wipe off your mouth when your wife kiss you in a public. Show some respect to your wife. She a woman daughter too. Your daughter in America, Andrew Holness, your daughter in America is going to get married one day. She's going to be a wife one day. You're going to be a father-in-law one day who don't want to see your daughter being kicked around and being abused by a narcissist, Andrew Holness, by a sexual abuser, by a misogynist, by a groomer and a groper, Andrew Holness. Dirty boy, man dog, parliamentary bulldog is what we have as a prime minister. Your wife doesn't deserve this treatment in public. Cut off of the press. Wagwan sis. Your wife a woman. She a mother and she a sister. What the whole of we have. Fabian Anderson JP. If you want to cheat on your wife, Andrew Holness, it doesn't have to be in her face every day. If you want to cheat on your wife, Andrew Holness, not in our honorable house. I know that will pay you if you go there, go do. John Rockenbein, how you do? I know that will pay you if you go do. Show respect to your wife. Some of us are get sorry for her now, regardless of her political views. Regardless of her political views, she a woman, she a mother, she a daughter, she a sister. Your treatment of your wife, Andrew Holness, a lot of us are never going to accept it for our sisters. Only we never go accept the brother-in-law that will just run and fling himself all over the place. Treat your wife with respect. You're giving your wife nervous breakdown. The feature of your wife, Florence, the feature of your wife has been changed over the course of time in Parliament, especially since she's been sitting on that chair where she has to face Rhoda and others every day, Prime Minister. It don't look good and it don't feel good to her. It don't look good. Here, Andrew Maxwell, what are you teaching your sons? How are you teaching your sons to treat women, Andrew Holness? Will you accept this for your daughter? Will the Prime Minister, the treatment you are giving to your wife, will the Prime Minister accept that treatment from a son-in-law for her daughter? Enough is enough now. She a woman picking it up. Regardless. Obviously, are jealous, fight back on her hissy fit, is what any other matey would do. Some now go beat her too hard for it. Cut off the press. Not that. Me now go beat her too hard for it. Mateys do vindictive stuff. Especially when side chick, wifes will do the vindictive stuff, especially when side chick up in your face every day. Especially when they look like side chick na hana where I go. Wifey will become vindictive. Some now go beat up Juliet too hard. If Juliet a black road a process in a parliament, Juliet is not the only woman who would undo that. Is the Prime Minister. This Prime Minister must be leash and zipped. The problem is the Prime Minister. The unzipped, the unleashed Prime Minister is the problem. And the Prime Minister must take him bulldog life, Margaret Wilson, out of Parliament. I know that will pay you for. I know that will send you there for. To go promote dunce people like Abka Fitzhenley and Marsha Stewart and Nesta Morgan. No. That's not what we signed up for. We signed up for you all to administrate the affairs of our country. Not for no go turn it in a go-go shop, back road, and matey corner. And that a go on you now. Go shop back road and meet a corner. What else are going in our politics? When last time I hear something good in our politics, like some good policy or whatever, JamaicanTV.com. Get a grip of yourself, Prime Minister. You are an embarrassment to your wife. You're an embarrassment to your children, Sharon Bernard. You're an embarrassment to your country, Prime Minister. You are an embarrassment to trust and integrity, Prime Minister. Because if your wife cannot trust you, Prime Minister, if there's a shroud of infidelity around the Prime Minister, how would the nation believe anything coming from the Prime Minister if the Prime Minister goes home every night lying to his wife? Is a question the nation needs to ask themselves. If the Prime Minister goes home every night and lie to his wife, what would stop the Prime Minister from lying to you, the people, who the Prime Minister really doesn't care about? Brownman Security 33, good son, how you do? Why do you think the Prime Minister would bat an eyelid to lie to you about anything when the Prime Minister goes home on a regular, on a daily basis and lie to his wife? Enough of this bullshit, Andrew Holness. Paulette Swaby, it's time for you to step down. Your criminality, your theftery, your lack of integrity. It is time that Andrew Holness step down. There is no more integrity. Eileen Harvey Brown, how are you? There's no more integrity in the Prime Minister's tenure. The Prime Minister is a liar. He's a thief. He is corrupt. He's a cheat. The Prime Minister must resign. In order for integrity in government, the Prime Minister Andrew Holness, the serial sex abuser, the serial abuser of power, the serialist who uses office as to elicit sex and to carry out sexual misconduct, must, in order for the integrity of our country and our governance structure, must resign. And you, the people, you, the women of Jamaica, must stand by Juliet Holness and the onslaught from her husband. She a woman too. Thank you very much for being here tonight with us on Global Television. And this is no optic. I really feel sad for Juliet Holness. I have sisters. I mean, never go see my sister, them and go through that and turn a blind eye. Oh no. For the woman in the Jamaica Labour Party, the woman in the People's National Party, the disenfranchised of the political system, women in Jamaica, stand by Juliet Holness. We may not agree with her politically, but on a personal level, I would never rejoice in what is happening to her, because the Prime Minister is and has put her through an awful lot. But my question or argument to you, Miss Holness, you do not have to subject yourself as an independent woman, as a self-made woman, Juliet Holness. Do not subject yourself to this. You are, Miss Holness, better than this. You are, Miss Holness, better than Andrew Holness. Do not subject yourself to this. Make Andrew go walk and piss against wall whenever he can. Take him for what you can in the divorce court, Miss Holness, but you do not have to subject yourself to this. And this is from my heart. You don't have to subject yourself to it, Nancy Rowe. Thank you all very much for being here with us this Friday night. On a know say tomorrow arrest day, not even sheet me not pitch off for me tomorrow. If me not need to eat or got the kitchen, got toilet or kitchen tomorrow, me nah move. So thank you. Unless there's a major development breaking tomorrow, then Global TV will take its usual Saturday rest. But thanks to all of you who's been here tonight. Please do hit the like button if you have not yet. If you're a silent viewer, Sandra Barrett, how are you? If you're a silent viewer and you have not yet subscribed to Global Television, we are on our way to 15K on the Producer Win channel. Please do continue to subscribe. And whichever of the channel you're watching on, please subscribe, like, and share our program so our work can get further out there. Thank you all very much for being here with us this evening. We really appreciate your support. I hope you all have a joyful and restful weekend. Thank you very much, Izzy Holder. How are you? Thank you very much for being here with us, and have a pleasant and restful, enjoyable weekend. Good night from the Global Television Group.